Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the new interactive class of English. I am Roslyn, your English teacher. Today, we will be continuing with the second part of A Legend of the Northland. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer. But she could not part with that, for she said, "My cakes that seem too small when I eat of them myself are yet too large to give away." She put them on the shelf. Now, before continuing with the poem, just let me give a little bit summary of what we have discussed in the part 1 of A Legend of the Northland. The Northland is a very cold region covered with snow. Its closeness to the North Pole gives this place a cold weather with very few hours of sunlight. The poetess has written that here the hours of the days are few and nights are long in winter. The people are unable to spend the whole night sleeping. The poetess doesn't believe in the authenticity of the story, yet she tempted to share the story. Once, Saint Peter was on his usual round of traveling and preaching people. He felt hungry. He chanced upon an old cottage where a little woman was making cakes. Saint Peter went near the woman and asked for some cakes to eat. The little woman started to bake a small cake for him. After the cake was done, she found it too big to be given for free. So she decided to bake an even smaller cake. And this went on and on till she made a wafer for Saint Peter. She even kept that wafer with herself instead of giving it to Saint Peter because she was too greedy to part with a single morsel of food. This will be studying later. In stanza 9, the third time she took a very small amount of dough and rolled it. The poet says that she rolled and rolled to lay emphasis on the fact that she rolled the dough and made it very thin, like a wafer, and baked it. But she was so greedy that she could not give that thin piece of bread to the saint. Next stanza, the women reasoned that when she ate the cakes, she felt that they were very small, but if she had to give them to someone, she felt that they were too big to be given away. She put all the cakes on the shelf of her kitchen and she did not give any cake to Saint Peter. Then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. Provoke means here to incite or make angry. And he said, "You are far too selfish to dwell. Dwell means to live in a human form, to have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm." Saint Peter became angry. He was very angry. He was feeling very weak, and the selfish woman was not ready to give him even a small cake. This behavior of the greedy woman angered the saint. Saint Peter cursed the woman and said that she was very selfish. She did not deserve to live like a human being. She added that God had given her food, shelter, fire to keep warm, but she had become selfish for all the resources she had. She did not want to share them with anybody. Now, you shall build as the birds do, and shall get your scanty food by boring and boring and boring, and all the day in the hard, dry wood. Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. Saint Peter cursed the woman that she shall become a bird, and just like birds build their houses by boring into the wood and collect very little food by working hard the entire day, similarly she would also work hard in the dry wood all the day and get little food and make a small place for herself to live in. As soon as Saint Peter cursed the women, She did not get a chance to speak for herself because that very moment she flew away to the roof through the chimney and flew out in the form of a bird. St. Peter's curse had converted the woman into a bird. She had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left the same, but all the rest of her clothes were burned, black as a coal in the flame. And every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood, where she lives in the trees till this very day, boring and boring for food. When the woman turned into a bird, at that time she was wearing a red colored cap on her head. This cap was there on the bird's head also, but the woman's remaining clothes had burned and turned black in color just like the coal. People who live in the countryside, even the small children who go to school, see this kind of bird in the woods. They see that she stays there all the day and keeps on digging the wood with a beak to collect her food. Whenever any child sees this kind of birds, then his elders tell him this story. They say that the bird used to be a woman earlier. She was very greedy, and so she was cursed by Saint Peter and turned into a bird. They get a teaching that they should not be greedy. On observing her greed, Saint Peter became very angry at her. He said that she was too selfish to dwell in the human form. He caused her to become a bird and leave searching for scanty food in the jungle by digging all dry and hard wood. After St. Peter's curse, the little woman went up through the chimney and turned into a woodpecker. Her whole body turned to coal black because of going up through the chimney. Her red cap turned to red scarlet of the woodpecker. After that, people saw her in the forest where she lives by boring and boring the dry wood in search of food. Now, this poem imparts or gives us the important lesson that greed always gets punished. Now, the vocabulary legend means old traditional story. Saint Peter, an apostle of Christ. Provoke, make angry. Tell, story. Preach, give religious speech. Hot, a fireplace. Scarlet, bright red color. Harness, to strap and fasten. Sleighs, a cart used on ice. Funny, amusing, furry, covered with fur. Tell, story. Saint, a person of exceptional holiness. Cottage, a small house. Bake, to cook. Faint, weak. Fast, avoid having food on special occasions. Seem, appear, give away, to give for free. Need, make a mixture. Scrap, small pieces. Part with, to give away. Self, along the piece of wood. Slash, grew, became. Hungry, need for food. Proverb, to make angry. Selfish, a person who thinks only for personal advantage. Dwell, to live. Scanty, too small in amount or size. Boring, making holes. Chimney, a pipe through which smoke or steam is carried out. Woodpecker, a bird with a strong bill and steep tail. Scarlet, bright red. Flame, fire. Country, a village. Now for the assignments. Write the story of a legend of the Northland in about 10 sentences. What did Saint Peter ask the lady for? What was the lady's reaction? Now once again, what moral lesson do you get from this poem. This poem teaches us that true happiness lies in sharing things with the persons who are in need. If we are greedy, we cannot have happiness in our life. On the other hand, our charitable nature makes us think about the pains and sorrows suffered by the other people. The charitable people have many friends and they are always connected with one another with a strong bond of sentiments. But the greedy people have hardly any friends and they often live alone in the world. Now, the figures of speech away, away in the Northland. Repetition, the word away is repeated. And the children look like the bear's cub. Simile, children are compared with the bear's cub and the word like shows the comparison. In their funny furry clothes, alliteration, the letter F gets repeated to create poetic effect, just as he did, simile. Here the comparison of manner of work that he had previously and he is doing presently is shown by the word of comparison as. In traveling round the earth, exaggeration. St. Peter travels a long distance to show this poetic exaggeration is practiced here by saying traveling round the earth and being faint with fasting. Alliteration, the letter F is repeated and rolled it flat. Repetition, the word rolled is repeated to show the intensity of her art. By boring and boring and boring. Repetition, the word boring is repeated to create poetic effect. Black as a coal in the flame. Simile, here there is a comparison between burnt clothes and coal and the word of comparison is as. Never speaking a word, litotes. Here to convey the meaning silently or mutely. Negation is used never to create a poetic effect. I hope all of you must have enjoyed the poem, rather the story I can say. Complete all the notes in your English classwork notebook of this lesson. Thank you.